Here we are. Welcome to another LifePoint podcast.
This one is a Freedom Christian Academy podcast.
Yes, or the Stefanies, whichever way you want to go.
Steph squared.
Yeah.
So I'm Stefanie Ayres, and this is
Stefanie Clark.
and we are starting Freedom Christian Academy Part 2.
I know, right? Exactly.
I know. Kind of different. So, a year and a half ago, I decided to retire from 30 years at public school, and really felt like school could be done better.
Right, sure.
And so I had, probably thought that for a decade at least, that it could be better than what it was. And it wasn't what was 100% best for everybody involved. And so I started dreaming about that and what could it look like. And so the first idea was, let's do a school. Let's do a private school. So I registered with the state and went through all of the different steps, and it got a lot of attention. People wanted to sign up, and then they wanted to use their state scholarships to pay for it. And that wasn't anything that I had wanted to do. So when I started to look into that, it felt less and less like freedom.
Right.
And more like this was not the way I wanted to do it.
You want to be boxed in.
Exactly,
more.
Exactly. So we decided not to do it in June of last year, and then just kind of put it in God's hands.
Exactly.
And so we then started talking more, and I think the more that I got to know you and your husband, Matt, the more we talked about family ministry, the more and the farther I think I got away from formalized schooling.
Sure.
The more I could see clearly what the best thing was for the children. And that's, I think, where we've kind of moved. Right? So we've, moved away from the private school idea and moved into the idea that we felt there were parents who wanted to stop their kids being in public school. They probably couldn't afford private school.
Right.
And they weren't sure they could homeschool.
Right.
And so we think we can help with all of that. We think we can provide some opportunity for students to come together in working groups with us at a really reasonable price.
Right.
And we think we can offer lots of support to parents.
Yes.
That absolutely they can provide education.
They can totally do this.
And so I think the farther I get from my 30 years of public experience, the more on the side of the parents I am than ever before. I would be the first to tell you that in the beginning of my career, I'm sure I thought, that's crazy. Those parents haven't been to college. Right. How on earth could they provide education for their student?
Right.
What a young thing to say, right? I mean,
we were all like that in our 20s. We always knew best.
Oh, my goodness. And I know the crazy thing is that I really think that the schools are not failing. I think they're doing exactly
what they were designed to
do. And parents and people are just waking up and realizing, wait, this isn't good enough.
Right.
And so
there's more there.
There's more, so much more. And I think that's where we come in.
Right.
And we're going to get an opportunity to help.
Right.
Which is so exciting.
I'm just over the moon excited.
Yes.
I mean, you had your 30 years in the classroom, and for myself, I did 5 years in public education, and then I stopped after I had Bailey, my son, and then when it was time for him to go to preschool and kindergarten, I was like, he doesn't have to. Why? I can just keep teaching what I'm doing at home, because it was just a natural process.
Right.
And then I just kind of fell into homeschooling, and I went through co-ops and a private homeschool group, and then off to college for him.
Right.
And the experience was amazing, and I'm loving now that I get to use those years of doing multiple things, even teaching at a hybrid school, to now help parents here at FCA and say, no, you've got this.
Right.
And let us help.
Right.
Let us help.
So speaking of, I mean, we've been talking about private schools and homeschools and hybrid schools.
Right.
All sorts of different things. Do you want to kind of talk about the differences that you see because you've been in so many different of those things?
Sure. So the hybrid school, or let's start with co-op, because a lot of parents hear that one. That one is, most of the time, that's a free type of group to be involved with, or a very, very minimal payment type of plan.
Right.
And that's where moms actually come together, moms and dads, and they all teach each other's kids.
Right.
Like you might teach the typing class, and I might teach a fishing or crochet class, or a little bit of English, whatever we're really good at. And then you just kind of swap out ideas. Then in a hybrid classroom, I actually taught in that for 6 years. That's where I had students for one day, and I taught them most of their subjects, and then I told them what to do at home. So the parents took my lessons and then taught them at home.
Right.
And then they would bring it back to me. So it was a hybrid, both. And then I'm registered with the county as a homeschool parent. It's just open to what you want to teach your child. You get to choose the curriculum. You get to choose how much time they spend on which subject. It's lots of freedom, lots and lots of freedom. So at Freedom Christian Academy, we wanted more freedom.
More freedom.
Right. So we are looking more at ourselves as a resource.
Yes.
For parents, so they can ask questions. I mean, what you know blows my mind as I hear people talk to you and ask you questions. I'm like, shoo, I'm glad she knows this and can teach others, including myself.
Right.
And then I just love that parents are asking. They're like, wait, I can do this? Yes.
Absolutely.
You can do that.
Right.
Oh, you mean I don't have to do this? No, you don't.
No. So, and that's been fun to really learn what exactly they need to do and then set them free on the rest of it.
Yes.
It's so fun. I think for me, it's kind of new discovery because I was on such a schedule for all of those years. And, it's so interesting. I know we did an enrichment day.
Yes.
And
that was so fun. We're like, what?
And it was just in the morning, and I accomplished so much. And I thought, that took me like a week to do that with, my students at school.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is I had 22 to 24 students. And if they're all going to get to share, well, that takes a long time. And, just the whole process can be shortened. And the depth that you can go can be added so easily to that because you have the time to do that. So that's been really fun to be able to imagine what you can do when you have less students, because we want to keep our classes small. And just,
I know you don't have these little check marks or definitions. You're like, okay, we're going to study light, but you and I kind of start the conversation. We know some of the basic things we want students to know, but then the students kind of open that up for us, and we're going to be able to go where we want.
And so much freedom to say, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's figure that out. Let's
that
do
is
an
going to be a
experiment on
popular answer with the two of us, and I don't think many adults are used to that. But as teachers, I don't know. Let's figure it out. It's used in my classroom a lot.
I don't think it's probably the norm. And there's not enough time.
That's true.
It's crazy that you have 7.5 hours, and we've talked about this before. We're in school with the students for 7.5 hours in public school. But on my best day, it was 4 hours of instruction that you would get. So what are you doing with the other 3.5 hours? Well, you're taking them to their specials class, or you're walking them to lunch, or they're going out to recess, or there might be some sort of assembly they have to go to, and all that walking with that many students takes time. And there's restroom time, and there's drinks time, all sorts of things that are taking the time that you would be able to say, let's set up several different investigations. Let's figure out why that is. Let's, investigate with books, or let's, try something. And don't have that time. So I think that's why that's probably not more. And then you have to be willing to say, I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, you just have to be willing to go.
You have to be okay with that.
I mean, how can I know everything? You know, it's I think something that, you know, I became comfortable with over the years, but I don't know that a lot of teachers, they feel like they need to know more
Right.
about everything than their students, and you couldn't know more about everything.
Right. And that's something we want to pass on to parents also.
Right.
You're not
Right.
going to know everything.
And to the students.
Sure.
You're not going to know everything, so let's figure out how to learn it.
Let's do it together.
Right.
I'm all about that.
Yeah. So that's been kind of a fun unplugging for me. That as I can see things a different way and a better way to learn, you know, I kind of wish they had picked a different name than homeschool.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah. Because school gives you one idea of what should be happening. It's not really that.
Right.
It's something better. So yeah, I find myself going, oh,
There's just something about
better
learning,
home learning,
investigating,
some kind of
development,
home fun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Freedom. Oh, maybe it's freedom.
It's freedom of learning.
Yeah. So it can't be school. It can't be the kind of school that you may have experienced as a parent.
Right.
It just doesn't translate.
You're not taking that. You're not, even if your students are in public school right now and you say, this isn't working for me.
Right.
I want to bring them home. You don't transfer what they're doing into the classroom home.
Right.
It's a completely different mindset.
It has to be.
You have to let go of all of that.
Right.
You know, we try to help parents who ask the question, well, what if it doesn't work and they have to be put back in public school next year? And I'm like, well, what if they went to a private school this year? Or what if they moved to another state this year? None of those standards or none of those things that they call standards are going to match up exactly. Right. It just doesn't.
So there's going to be some overlap and some
you may be further ahead in some areas and maybe you didn't learn the exact measurement unit, but
it would almost be like if you went from one job to another job and you were worried about not having the skills for the second job, well, you have some, and now you can learn new. I mean, like you're just going to have to make that work.
Right.
If you're, you know, in one environment and you have to go to another, and that's a great learning lesson for the student as well. That sometimes I'm going to have to learn the things I don't know.
Right. And well, that's what we're trying to help parents create. If you create learners, it doesn't matter how much we stuff into their 12 years at home or 13 years at home. You know, they are in charge of their learning at some point, and they go out and find what they're most interested in. Or I have to learn this to do this job.
Right.
They take care of it.
So many times I would say to students who would come to me and they'd say, oh, I really want to study this year. When are we going to do this? Oh. And I might, you know, maybe it was like, oh, well, we get to that in February, but you could get to it today.
Right.
Like, you know, especially if you've got somebody, you know, overseeing your internet access and you could go out there and I would always say, you know, type in what you want and then put the word kids.
Yes, always.
Because it will bring back, you know, better sites.
Right.
And don't go to the second page. Just take the, you know, just usually, but, you know, in trying to encourage them, you don't need me to guide your learning. And so, you know, I think that's a huge thing that we want to do as well, is really kind of spark the learning and then encourage the continuing of whatever they're really interested in, the students that we have in our classes.
And help the parents with that. Help them understand that they should not expect a 6-year-old to sit for however many hours a day. They actually make them do that in school now. I don't even know.
Really long.
Really long, really ridiculous. And sitting in a seat with a worksheet or just even a textbook open, it's not the best way for learning. And they're not engaged with the learning, so it's not sticking anyway. Even if they have a few more hours. When we're at home and we're engaging and studying with what we're really interested in or learning something difficult or new,
Right.
you're so much more involved, and they can ask the questions. And the smaller groups, even the quiet kids, they will ask more questions because they've been given the freedom and the space.
Right.
They're like, because in larger classrooms, I really feel like some of those who, those kids who are
Right.
like, I know the answer, or I have the question, they tend to speak for the class. And those who are a little more quiet, they just kind of let them speak for them. But they might actually have really great questions.
Right. Well, and in those situations, it falls on the teacher to build that in and to wait for those students. And when you have less students, it just feels different, I think, and it may be a little bit easier for them
fewer
to.
students. And then when we've talked about the method that we're going to use with science and math, where they're investigating and solving out loud with each other, where you and I are going to be listening, and so we're going to pick up the phrases and words and go, okay, we know to guide this conversation a little bit this way, or something we're like, oh, I see what concept they're missing.
Yes.
I need to do a little mini lesson on this.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to the kids just really talking it out.
Right. Well, and that's how you know, right? That would inform what you do. You have to hear what they think.
Right.
In order to know what you need to help them or fix or do a lesson on, or like if you're not listening to your children, how would you know what they think?
Right.
Like that's got to be a piece of the education, is really listening, whether you're just eavesdropping or you're actually dialoguing with them. Like that is so important to know where to go next. You might find they know everything about what you're about to teach.
Right. You're like, oh, well,
right. Okay, let's have a recess for a little bit and I'm going to learn some new things.
Let mom reset and we'll try something new. I think it also gets rid of something like testing.
Yes.
Like if I'm listening, if they can talk it out, if they can solve it verbally or show me visually, and the word test, I don't. I know. It doesn't need to be involved in the classroom. Like we don't need that as a form of test. Right. Just like you and I keep talking about, no homework.
No homework.
No. When you're done with school, you're done with your assignments or what your parents are looking for you to do or you've decided to do, then you're done.
Yeah.
Now we have other things we need to do.
Right.
Exercise our bodies and minds outside.
Read books that we want to read.
Yes. Do
projects
chores
that we want. Yes. Do chores.
Learn something.
Hang out with the family.
Yes.
Yeah. So many other, the homework is out of control. And there really is no reason, I think, that school needs to reach itself into your house at night and give homework.
Absolutely not.
It's just, it's becoming unacceptable.
Right. I remember way back, this is going to be my age, but we used to be spelling words and multiplication facts.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
And now when I hear people saying, oh, my third grader's on their third hour of homework, we can't make whatever.
Right. And the research is not there for that. Yeah, so there's no reason that needs. Yeah. It's, and even, there would be times when I would, tell parents. And so if you're in a public school with your student, here's something that I recommend. If you've watched your student do 2 or 3 problems and they flawlessly do them, why would they need to do 20 more?
Exactly.
Draw a line across the page, jot a note to the teacher and say, we went outside. We're doing something else. We're not spending more time when they're proficient.
Right. They've got this.
So, the point of homework, I think, should be, I can do this on my own.
Yes. Yes.
And if you can do it on your own, then you should stop doing it.
Right.
And so, and also, I also think that if it's causing some sort of argument or animosity in between the parents and the student, you should stop doing homework.
Yeah. Why add more? There are already natural things with parents and children.
Right.
Why add homework? Right. It's a whole nother thing.
Right. So we won't be doing that. No. We won't be adding any of that.
They will be doing work at home.
Yes.
But we won't be sending home.
It's whatever you want them to do as the parent.
Right. You're in charge.
We will not be doing that.
We're here to help.
Yes. And that's been really exciting. I think that, we've already been able to help parents feel, I think, like they could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been answering some questions that have been common. I've known from my homeschool background, like things like, oh, we're there on 3rd grade science or 5th grade science.
Right.
And when they ask questions like that, I know that all they know is the public school system.
Right.
Right? That's all they know.
Right.
And as soon as I say to them, science and history
Right.
has no grade level to it. It doesn't, there's no such thing.
Right.
What do you want to learn in science? It doesn't matter if you're 6 or 16.
Right.
We can study it.
Exactly.
So opening parents' eyes to what?
Right.
To that?
And there is some tie over in like reading.
Oh, sure.
Like, okay. And even somewhat math, you know, if a student is understanding things, why should they, I mean, if they understand, why shouldn't they be able to do a little more?
Right.
If
they've got this down, can they connect it to a higher algebra standard? You know,
I can't tell you how many times I would say to a student, well, that's a great question. You're really going to get into that in 6th grade. And I'm looking at a classroom of 22 to 24 thinking, how many will benefit from me going on or saying a little bit?
Right.
How many will this fly over their head? And, you know, towards the end, I'd do a little lesson on it, and I would just say, some of you, this isn't going to make any sense. That's okay.
right.
Some of you, you're going to remember this next year and go, oh, now it makes sense. And some of you are going to go, thank you. This is what I needed right now. But I'm going to spend 10 minutes because some of you are ready, and it doesn't hurt some of you to be exposed to some of that. But it's, you know, I can't tell you how many times I would say, I wish we could now spend an hour going down this rabbit trail that you're so interested in, and really not having the time, not having the space for that, because there were so many students and you had to keep on track.
Yeah.
So I look forward to many rabbit trails.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see us ending class with
Yes.
parents saying, so what'd you do today? Well, we solved one math problem.
It was a good one.
It was a really good one.
Yes.
We solved one math problem, learned 3 science concepts, painted this picture, and grew a garden.
That would be a giant day.
That's us.
Oh, that's fun. So, so we've talked a little bit about what we would like to do for students. We're doing 2 mornings a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to noon, and we're going to cover all the science they would need for their whole week.
Right. We'll cover science. You don't have to buy that curriculum.
Correct.
You don't have to spend money on it. You don't have to worry about it. You bring them to Mrs. Clark and Mrs. Ayres.
Right.
We've got your science covered.
Right.
And they get to do it with friends.
Yes. And they're getting that social part and that being able to discuss things and hash things out with other students that are in their age range, because we're going to do ranges.
Yes.
So you're doing 6-year-olds through 8, 9-year-olds, and then mine will be 4th through 6th, though we're looking at a 9-year-old through 11, 12-year-olds, somewhere in there. And so, so, you know, when they go out into the workforce, you don't just work with the 30-year-olds.
Right.
So we think there's some value in putting different ages together and learning from each other and with each other. So we're going to be able to do that. And then because we can accomplish so much, we're also thinking that we'll do some math enrichment. So the things that the parents are doing at home, then we'll be able to use those concepts to challenge them, apply different scenarios to what they're doing, and then again allow them in their peer groups to talk through.
Yeah, conversational math.
Yes.
That's not something that a lot of parents will even. They'll think just paper and pencil and eraser, but conversational math is going to be very important.
It is, and the importance comes later, when you can see that I'm not just learning, elementary math. And then when I get to middle school,
right, it's a whole different math.
It's completely different. And then high school is completely different. There's only 4 operations.
Right.
So, we're just using the same things. And if we can get a really good foundation and then apply it in all these different, you're going to have this rich connectiveness and creativity in your math that I think will help to get students not turn into adults who don't like math.
Oh yeah, we want to get rid of that phrase, right?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not a math person, or I don't like math. It's like,
I have a T-shirt that says, "How to be a math person: be a person, do math."
Excellent. That's a great shirt. Yeah.
You're all a math person.
Yeah.
But so we're going to be able to do those. And then also we've talked about, we have such a love of books between the two of us. There will be books used in what we're doing. And, we've got a library here that the students can check out books from. So we will want to put that in there. I can see us doing even things like, I'm going to teach you cursive writing. We'll take a few minutes and learn. Just fun, extra things that
gets their mind going, their hands going, motor skills.
That might be a brain break. We're going to do cursive for come back later. So I can see us adding in a lot of different fun activities, but our main thing will be the science and then some math enrichment. So what can we offer for the parents?
Parents out there.
Yes.
First, we want to say congratulations. Yes. And we are excited for you, and it can be done.
Yes.
I'm one story of it happening, and very excited about my son, graduating from college, so I'm good with that.
Right.
I think what we can offer most is encouragement.
Yes.
You and I are going to tell them that they can. We're going to give them a lot of permissions, because they feel constrained that like, well, I don't like this second grade science, or, they're like, well, no, you don't need a second grade science. Study whatever science you want. A lot of that. I think also we talked about we're having our own type of parent collaboration, teacher collab, where the parents can come in and sit with us with the curriculum they've bought, and we can help them map it out. Maybe we can look at it and say, okay, this part and this part, great. Don't need that. Yeah. So kind of like a cut and paste. Some just need help with organization. Like, what does a school day look like for a first grader? And when I say things like an hour and a half to 2 hours, they go, what? And I'm like, yeah, really?
Yeah.
For real.
Really.
We're going 3 hours, and that's pushing it. We're going to add in all kinds of things.
Oh, for sure. A recess will be in there.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to have some of that time, and lots of stuff. So, okay, great. So, one of the things that we're getting ready to do next weekend is going to the FPEA, which is...
It's the homeschool convention.
Yes.
The Florida Parent Educators Association. I think that's what it actually stands for.
All right. Yeah. And so there will be so many curriculums to choose from, I can imagine. I've never been before.
Yes.
So what do you recommend for the parents there?
Every parent I've talked to...
You get curriculum.
Yeah, I get curriculum. I say. I tell them to walk around with their hands in their pockets, but what I really mean is you can look and you can touch. I really recommend that you just leave your debit card locked up somewhere, maybe frozen in ice for all I care.
Yeah.
Look at it. Write it down, take pictures, take brochures, and then come home and research it more, and then feel free to actually talk to us about it.
Sure.
Like, bring it in and go, these are some things I'm interested in, and then you and I can go, okay, hearing about your child, maybe this. I want to discourage parents from thinking they have to spend thousands of dollars on curriculum. Listen, those people are there to sell. They have a product and they're selling
good at it.
And it's not that some pieces of their things aren't good. But it's just like any curriculum. One thing doesn't fit every kid. And so if you go out and say, oh, I really like this one set, I'm going to buy the whole curriculum for the whole year, boom. And then you start it and you get about 3 weeks in and you're crying. And then we have to have a break for mom and dad and say, no. It's okay. We gotcha.
So So
Go, learn,
look.
yes. And I recommend for new homeschool parents, if they go to the homeschool convention, go to all the sessions that are like homeschool families talking about their experiences, like how to homeschool in Florida, how to set up your home and your classroom at home, how to deal with multiple children in the home. You can go listen to some. They'll be done by the sponsor, like they're wanting to sell their curriculum.
Right. Which they're good at.
That they are good at.
Right.
And not saying that the curriculum's not good. I mean, I've used some.
I've used lots of curriculums.
Yes. It's just.
And some of them have sat on the shelf
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So
I used 3 lessons from that book.
Right.
And that was it. But yeah, just go to things where you're learning how to be better at it as a parent.
Right.
Where I'm going, okay, what's dad's role? Because in most homeschool families, dad's role is different from mom's role.
Right.
So how does that work together?
Right. Good. Yeah, well, that's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see.
You will not believe the number of vendors. I mean, every year I go, I'm just like, my eyeballs are like this big. And I'm like, oh, thankfully I don't see the reason.
I did see one picture, and I just thought, I'm trapped. I'm already feeling claustrophobic. I'm like, there's too many people in that area. I'm sure they smushed everybody in for the picture.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is there a day that we can go where people won't be bumping into me? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Oh my goodness. All right. So parent support, it's really bring your questions, bring your concerns, and just let us hash it out with you. Like, we aren't afraid of any of those kinds of questions.
Our website's not going to answer everything.
No.
It's just kind of got an overview of things.
Right.
We can't put every question and answer on there. Just ask us. We're
Just
going to tell
ask.
you honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I would say any parent who's like, I can't. I have to leave my child in public school. Any kind of questions that you have, I am happy to help you navigate that.
That's true.
World as well. So, I would say any way we can help parents and families to kind of
trying to express the fact that you and I are just our years of experience. That now we're at the other side where we're empty nesters. Our children are adults now, and so now we're just like, how can we help? We're really. Yes. That is our passion. How can we help these families? Right. We look at it as a unit. We know that when someone chooses to homeschool, it's not just the kids. Right. It's the entire families involved.
Right. Absolutely. So, just some other things, since you mentioned families, we have other ideas on how to get the whole family involved. We want to do some special, maybe a few times a month from 8:30 to 9. Maybe it's a Bible study or some kind of chapel. Circle.
We get our pastors involved.
Something like that. So we've got some ideas that we want that. We've got some family field trips to different things planned. I'm even planning to take my group to the Mud Walk, since that's such a Seminole County thing to do for 5th graders. And I thought, well, if you wanted your 5th grader not to be in 5th grade public school next year, they couldn't say, well, I want to do the Mud Walk. I'm going to take them out. I did it for 15 years.
You got that under control.
I've got that covered. We're planning to do a lot of different fun things. And I think also we would love to figure out how we can get parents more involved in that kind of thing. It's a skill they have that they could come and share with all of the students, or an interest that they have that they might bring in and present. So I think we would love to figure out how to get the whole family involved and really encourage just that the bringing back together of the family instead of the segmenting where we go off to our jobs and you go off to a school and then we all come back together. Right. All right, so the last bit here before we end, this is our pilot year.
Yes.
So we just switched over the idea that we had to this brand new exciting idea, and it's our pilot year. Do you have anything that you want to say about the pilot year?
Yay, is what I was saying. So you didn't get to see me dancing when I had our first application because you were off on your trip. And I'm like, I know I can't reach her, but I'm texting her anyway. So when she does get some kind of signal, I'm like, you've got your first student. I'm just so excited about the parents who have already met with us. And they're like, okay, this is for us. Yes. Again, we're really designed for parents who are registered as homeschoolers with the county. Yes. So as parents, you're fully in charge, and we're coming beside you as a resource. Exactly. So that's who we're trying to reach. Right. So right now, we're saying applications, it's open. Yes. You're applying right now, and our classrooms are we're so getting students in there. So thrilled about it. Yes, it is very exciting. And let's see, what else was I going to say about that? Oh, my goodness. I will tell them our website is freedomchristian.academy. Yes. So that has our application and our fees, and if you need to connect with us, you can do that. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then also I wanted to say that if your student is enrolled here, then that is also included in that is meeting with us a couple, like once a semester, and then also that portfolio review that you need to do. Right. As a certified teacher, I can still do that for you, and then sign off on that, as is the law here in Florida that needs to happen. Right. So all of that can happen right here with Freedom Christian. And also, we actually extended that to people who, if you're not a student here, if your child is not a student here, but you need portfolio checks, or maybe you just want to sit down with Steph, the two of us, and say, how do I map this out? Right. You can pay for that time. Absolutely. And we will help you do that too. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that would really extend to like middle school students as well. Sure. And, and if there are any parents out there who have high schoolers, you've done high school, and I know we have other homeschool parents that have said, oh, we're just finishing up the high school, and I volunteer to sit down and help as well. So we can get you help. If you need help, if we can't provide, we'll find those answers. Right. We will find those answers. All right. Well, this has been so exciting. I know. It's such a fun new adventure. Yeah. Totally looking forward to this. Yes. So if you have questions, please go ahead and reach out to us. If you're like, that's it, that's for my child, enroll them. Yes. And we will be so excited to have them. And we'll do a little dance when we get your application. Right. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. And I hope that if you have any questions, you'll let us know. But it's been fun. Awesome. Bye. Bye.